Today we're seeing a little bit of selling on the stock market, but in my personal opinion, this is just a reaction to hitting some of our key levels. Again, if you look at the NASDAQ specifically, ignore all the crazy levels here, but the main thing you're watching was right up into this spot right here, 25.87 roughly, which was that SR flip that we really got stuck below that ended up shooting us all the way down almost 2,000 points. Now, if you look back right now, we're testing that same level. Now, again, you can see right now finding some initial selling, but in my personal opinion, the selling that you're seeing isn't really that concerning because again, you're dropping down, but you're not really breaking back below any significant levels. For instance, if I zoom out here and clear off all the drawings, look at the 2 hour, you're still putting in higher lows for the time being. Could this change? Yes, 100% it could. But as of right now, you're putting in higher lows, you're putting in higher highs. You're kind of flat right here. I'll say that right now, but that's where you're at right now. There's no real reason to start panicking just yet. Same thing on ES, if not even better here on ES, but it's still looking pretty solid. Dow as well. Dow is getting below this little bit of a level here at 47.8, but all in all, still holding up pretty strong. And again, if you look at higher time frames like the daily, you're still making higher highs and higher lows, and you're trying to push back in all-time highs. Now, there was also some major news here on the market as well to get the day started. NVIDIA is allowed to now sell their H200 chips and export them to China. Okay, that is pretty big news. Now, I will say, I want to be abundantly clear about this. Jensen Huang last week said he was unsure if China would even want to buy the H200 chip from them just because it's not as good as their other chips, right? So again, we'll see what happens. If this generates any sales, this is still a win. It's important to understand that NVIDIA's outlook for 2026 is to get their revenue from, I think, the last earnings from 2025 into the next 4 earnings of 2026 to $500 billion total in fulfilled orders, which is absurd, which is crazy, and it's over 100% gain year to year on total revenue, which is crazy. So again, this is just icing on the cake of that. They have no current sales listed for China, so this could be awesome. We'll see what happens over the next few days and weeks. As of right now, you're seeing the initial buying happening here on NVIDIA. That is worth mentioning, breaking back above. I want to bring that level up so you can see back above 184. That is your line in the sand on NVIDIA. You have to be watching is 184. Your next midpoint to be watching is right here at 187. This has been a bit of a brick wall as well. If you hold 187, again, personal opinion, you got nothing to like 195. So we have a lot of stuff to talk about here in the video, and I do think there's a massive opportunity setting up as well. But again, let's break this down. Now, before we go too far, go into too much stuff, guys, I do want to say right now, if you want to see what we're trading, how we're trading, the Discord link is down below. Every trade that we post, it's all in there for you. You go to swing trades, go to scalps, everything is there so you can see. Scalp on the day, I only post stuff that I'm taking. Or if I'm not entering, I literally say I'm not entering this yet. I don't have anything, but when I notify everyone. But again, only one trade from here on the day, specifically with stocks, was Tesla to the downside. We started going short immediately when we broke below this. As you can see, we were literally highlighting this all morning. Once you broke below 444, short down to 439. So that was a money play there. Jordan also signaled out the Google trade going short down towards the gap fill. So again, 2 solid trades right there. But anyways, going into futures, everything along those lines, all the trades are there for you. Do what you gotta do. Link is down below. Now, going into the market, what are we looking at? Where are we going overall? Now, this week specifically, there's quite a few things going on. In my personal opinion, too, why we're seeing some of the sell side right now, we're seeing I don't even want to say weakness, because again, you haven't made lower lows yet, which you could 100%. You could make a lower low. Gonna make that very clear. You 100% could see that. But why we haven't done it yet, or in my personal opinion, is because the market looks so strong. But some of the weakness you're getting on the day is coming out of what we're seeing here. So again, I think people forget, and even I'm guilty of forgetting sometimes, is that again, the Supreme Court is going to rule on Trump's tariffs pretty soon. Now, I will say, going into basically November, we were setting at like 40% to 50%, yes or no. And as we progress into December, we're sitting at around a 20% chance of them saying no, not favoring them, and potentially having to pay all that tariff money back, which would be a net negative for the market for sure. And so I think again, that's was kind of been the focus on the day. We saw some comments about that as well. So not a good look overall. Now, the other thing to expect this week going into the calendar is understanding what's happening here as well. So I do think we have ADP into employment change. I don't think we have non-farm payrolls, but I do believe we have our interest rate decision coming in on Wednesday, FOMC. Definitely the biggest thing that's going to be coming out this week. Be paying attention to that. OPEC report. But again, Fed meeting is the most important thing. We'll see what happens. Highly likely that we cut, but it's going to be about the tone going forward, right? Like going into the beginning of the year, do you want to keep cutting? How does the market sit? How do we stand? How's the job markets? We'll see what happens from there as well. Another thing that I posted on Twitter, I recommend following on Twitter so you get all the updates, all the notifications as news comes in. But again, I literally posted this, maybe I retweeted it a little bit earlier. But again, let me go down to it. I want to make sure I don't misquote this, what it was. So the U.S. Labor Department announces its canceled October PPI inflation report. Again, this just keeps happening over and over and over. So we'll see how this plays out. But again, more data that we're not getting, or as far as, inflation, et cetera. Now, again, we looked at year over year PCE from September into October, and it wasn't that bad. Again, I've gone over that in the previous videos. I don't want to be going over the same stuff over and over, but worth tracking, worth mentioning. Just want to make sure everyone's up to date on that as well. Now, looking back at SPY, going more into the chart, things that I'm watching, things that I'm looking for here. Again, what you ultimately want to see is, can we get above this level right here, like basically 685, let's just round up. Can we hold back above 685 on SPY specifically? You hold that, and in my personal opinion, I think you're looking back into all-time highs. And it's worth mentioning, this past Friday, we were there. I mean, we were literally around $2 away from all-time highs, which is crazy to say about SPY. So again, we're right there, how we're looking as we speak. Going into QQQ, you want to see that level that hold back above basically 625. Above that level, you're looking back towards that gap fill to 631. If you can see a daily hold, 4-hour daily hold there, I think you look very strong. I'd be looking towards that gap fill near 631, and then ultimately towards all-time highs as well. So again, what we're looking for, why we're looking for it, our supports are still mentioned down here. Again, you're going to notice there's not a lot of supports here. So again, we've had a slow grind to the upside, which again, I'm usually not a huge fan of, but when you get slow grinds like this, it's like we always say, if you move up fast, you can move down just as fast. But when you move up slow and steady like this, you're creating some supports, you're creating some chop, right? So it's going to be more difficult for you to go straight back down to your level in a straight line. It's the same thing that we mentioned back here. If you go down very fast, you can go up just as fast. If you go up very fast, you can go down just as fast. So using references here, going back to our same levels that we watched. So you moved up, you rejected, and look, you dropped right back down just as fast. So it's important to understand how you're moving and what's really going on there. So again, we'll see what happens. Above 625 is where you get more aggressive. As you're coming into resistances, I think you have to be a little bit more conservative, but overall, I still feel very strong about the market, where we're at and how we're responding. Now, more into specific stocks and what we're looking at there. Now, I've gone pretty in depth and in detail with semiconductors as of recent, and I think semiconductors are the bright spot of the market. Again, here on the day, we saw a little bit of a slowdown, but perking right back up. Again, all-time highs on SMH, the semiconductor ETF, is at 372.8 roughly. So again, we're not far off. And you look at semiconductors, they're still performing well. And I think we get in this vacuum of looking at, okay, well, Nvidia, and I'm guilty of doing that sometimes, but it's very important that we understand what's happening across the board on semis. TSM, for example, popping up, looking very strong, just consistently making higher highs and higher lows. Good look. AVGO today, higher highs, higher lows, new all-time high on the day. And again, it's like I've been saying, these are the companies that are benefiting right now from the other chip deals being made from between Google and Meta, for instance, and the new TPUs and what's coming out there. So you're seeing more competition hit the market. But again, in my personal opinion, if you look at what's happening on financial reports, looking at what's happening on overall spending, look at what's happening on set orders from NVIDIA, it's not hurting them at all. At least right now. Maybe it'll hurt some later. We'll see. I don't know. But what it is doing is creating the other semiconductors to fulfill demand out there that NVIDIA can't fulfill right now and just doesn't need to fulfill. So again, it's a good overall look. Demand is fine, my personal opinion. But again, semis look very strong. I could go on a laundry list. I still think ASML is one of the bigger opportunities here. I've already traded it once into 1140 from Discord. But as long as you hold above 1110 here, I think it's a deal. To be totally honest with you, it's riskier. The contracts, there's a bit of a spread on there. I agree. There is some risk there, but I still think ASML is a beast. I've done some pretty big deep dives on ASML. Maybe I'll do it in a live one day as well. But again, that's where we're at right now. That's currently where we're at there. So going towards XLK, another big look here. And again, I'm hopefully you guys understand I'm trying to be as transparent, as honest as possible as far as where we're at in the market and what I'm looking at. But as you can see here as well, I'm again marking out that little high there. So you can see kind of the range that we were kind of stuck in here. Again, XLK as well here on the day, breaking back out, even despite seeing some selling on names like Apple, and it's important to understand. So it still looks really solid. Although I will say, if Apple gets a strong, I'm be totally honest, I've already entered Apple. I might get stopped out. If you get back below like lows from the 28th, I think you have to cut it. But if you get a strong daily close above 277, it's probably one of the best looking trades out there. We'll see what's happening on there. But again, what I'm watching for, I think it was just one of those trades you have to take. I think risk reward's pretty damn good as well in that trade also. So go look at the contracts for yourself, but it's worth a loss for me. I'll take it. Going into Google, again, still looking kind of weak here, kind of pulling back a little bit. We did take this trade on the day for what it's worth. Jay did mention this one, like I said. Again, you're breaking out of this little range that you were trading in. I would be careful though here, but not hammering shorts, because again, I think you're gonna have a little bit of support here into 309, 311. So that's where you're coming into. If you get here, you have a gap down to 304. We'll see what happens, and you're pretty illiquid all the way back down to 291. So I'll just say 300 will be a psych level. So definitely watching that. Another one of the big stocks I've been watching here is Netflix as well. And again, Netflix continues to decline. So again, one of the levels, and I still think Netflix is gonna be one of the best stocks to buy. And I made a video this past weekend talking about what I'm looking at with Netflix, etc. I still like them a lot, but like I said, you have to hold above $100 to start going long on Netflix, and really above 106.5 to have confirmation of the long on Netflix. So that's where we're at currently, and you're aiming down towards our first target of 94 on the downside, and then ultimately towards 84 to 82. So again, you're still slowly seeing the decline. It's worth mentioning, and I posted on Twitter as well. You can go, listen to this if you want, but there's definitely some headwinds going on with this deal being made between Netflix and Warner Brothers. So you're still seeing the downside effect, because again, when acquisitions usually happen for stocks, you get downside on the stock that's doing the acquisition. In this case, Netflix. Again, they're losing cash, taking on debt, etc. But again, I think long term this would be a really good deal for Netflix, and they would literally own most of the streaming market. But again, worth mentioning. So we'll see what happens. Paramount CEO is again going into his offer that they made towards Warner Brothers. It's a pretty damn good deal. We'll see what happens. But again, where they're at right now. So if this falls through, it could be a net negative for Netflix, but I still think it's a great overall name. I'm still going to be buying Netflix eventually. But again, we're just waiting to get more confirmation where we're at and ultimately where we're going. So again, big support there. Then after that, it's pretty ugly back to the downside of the range of like 82, 84. At that point, I'd probably just start buying. I'm going to be totally honest. I wouldn't even wait for a bounce. So again, worth mentioning what I'm looking at there. And as we're making this video too, you can see NASDAQ is still getting a little bit of a decline. So again, I wouldn't jump to, okay, this is looking great, this is looking fantastic yet. You really want to get more confirmation on a daily chart, end of the day, where are we at, where are we going? And that's currently what's happening on that NASDAQ. Great bounce, but ultimately seeing some selling here. You want to see NVIDIA get a strong daily close above 184. If you get back below 184, it's going to be tough trading. Again, we don't love to see it, but it is what it is. So again, being as transparent as possible. So again, as we go into tomorrow, going into this week, what I'm looking for here, a SPY QQQ gave you those levels very clear. You're getting a BRB off of them, break retest, and breaking right back down. So that's worth mentioning. We're talking about going into NASDAQ. I think this is easily what you're really looking at right now. Again, those levels on SPY and Qs are important, but what you want to see is that break and hold above 25.87 on NASDAQ, continue to make higher lows as well as ultimately where you want to see. Again, you're kind of pushing back down to lows here, so we'll see how we end near the end of the day. Keep you updated on Twitter as well. ES, the same thing here, kind of bouncing, coming back down to 68.40. You do want to stay right above your 68.12 level on ES. The level on NASDAQ would be 25.4. So holding above those levels is a must to stay in the bullish trend overall. And again, what we're looking at right now. So again, as I'm looking at the market, being transparent, as clear as possible, that's where I'm at overall. I still think you look fine. The NVIDIA deal, we'll see what happens there. If we start seeing any news regarding sales of the H200, if we see Jensen mention anything, I mean, I'm telling you right now, anything about interest in the H200 from China, you're going to see a spike on NVIDIA's price, which in my opinion would spike the rest of the market. We'll see. But again, where my focus is, what I'm looking at right now. And I'll tell you right now, just again, from a day trading perspective, things that I've said in Discord is I'm just being cautious on the downside. As you can see, the only day trades I took here on the day were actually to the downside, me and Jordan both, Google and Tesla. So again, it's not like I'm day trading to the upside right now. I want to be very clear about that. But what I'll say is the same thing that I've been saying and kind of saying weeks ago, especially on the downside. In my opinion, if I'm taking these trades, I'm taking my money and getting out. I'm not trying to hold. I'm not trying to swing downside trades here. That's my personal opinion, how I'm trading, what I'm looking at, because you're just not in favor of that. And this is even a great example, is that you're breaking back down to lows and you're not getting a breakout. And even when you go to the 5 minute of where we're at, okay, this is another just great overall example. So you can see we kind of break a low of day here. We kind of, and this was actually a little bit more of an aggressive drop, but ultimately just bouncing right back up. And you break lows again, you kind of just sit here and we just kind of ranging, like you're not seeing continuation fast, especially in between levels. And you don't really have that much support here. So again, the downside trade to me doesn't make a lot of sense as far as like a risk to reward perspective, especially holding it for an extensive amount of time. If I'm getting action, what I'm looking for is trading into my key levels, etc. Quick in, quick out, making money as fast as possible and not trying to stay in this. I do think going into something like Apple, this is a very interesting opportunity. We'll see. You want to see a higher time frame close. Like I said, if you get back below like 276, I think this is probably the stop out and just wait to remount 277. But that's where you're at right now, what I'm looking at. If you have any questions, comment down below. Twitter link, Discord links down below. Have a good one, traders.